of KALPAKRITI DX 2020, first graduation show by the pioneer batch of Department of Design, SPA Bhopal. They say, well begun is half done. And I'm glad to say that we had a wonderful start yesterday on day one, or as we call it, Aram. So, even if it is half done, it is definitely not complete without the events planned for day 2 and day 3. So, today's day is Manthan. And for the churning, we have some amazing presentations by some of the inspiring designers from the industry, which will be followed by a panel discussion and a Q&A session. I would like to request everyone to type their questions in the chat box or in the comment section if you're watching this streaming live on YouTube. The questions will be taken up at the end of the presentations. So today our speakers will be talking on the theme of designing for the future. Their discussions will encompass all aspects of design. So our first speaker for the day is Prashasti Ranjan. She is an esteemed alumna of NIFT and IIT Bombay. She is bringing her expertise from different fields like graphic design, UI UX design, as well as product design to the forefront of business solutions. She is the founder and CEO of Design Brewery. I now pass on the screen to Prashasti ma'am.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Pankri. I'm so honored to be here and to kind of refer to all the graduating students here today. I'll just quickly share my screen so that I can start presenting. Just one second. Hope you guys are able to see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think the topic given was designing to the future. I've changed it slightly. I'll kind of go through it later in the slide deck as well. I'll first kind of give a brief introduction about myself. As you mentioned, Pankri, I'm a designer. I turned into an entrepreneur around 3 years back. I started this company with a 10-month-old baby in my arms. He's now 4.5, and managing the business along with home is very, very tricky. I don't know if other people are also facing it, but I surely had a tough time. But within this journey, I think I have learned so much, as much as I've not learned in the past 30 years probably. These 3 years have given me that amount of learning. I started with a very, very small team of 2 design members, and now I have around 12, very good creative bunch, which I'm very, very proud of. It was a very, very hazy start to begin with. But as we started, kind of proceeding, each and every day kind of gave us more clarity on who we want to be and where we want to get in the near future. Now we have good clarity on, what exactly we provide and where do we stand in the industry, what are we positioning our brand as. Currently, we are providing 3 services as a part of Design Brewery. We have branding and communication, experience design, and campaign design. The services are kind of, put across in a way that if there is a new idea that any of our client comes up with, we're able to, kind of create an identity for it, and also kind of create a product around it. It might be, we are currently only working on soft products and not on physical products. And then we kind of move on to marketing this idea. This is a very offbeat solution that most design agencies kind of don't dwell into. But I really feel that there's a value in having the marketing as well, flowing in seamlessly to other design activities. These are some of our clients that we are working with. I'm really glad that we've had the opportunity to kind of work with really, really big clients like Deloitte or Cisco or Abbott. At the same time, we've had interactions with so many startups with whom we've kind of built the brand with them and becoming their design partners along the way. This is my beautiful team. I really love them to the core of my heart. They're a very, very creative bunch. And now I'll quickly jump to the topic, problem solving to the future. Now I can kind of describe why we came up with problem solving and not design, because design in today's day and age is being very used very loosely. Design this, design that. I mean, there's the crux of design is about problem solving, which I can see in the designers that I'm interacting with on a daily basis are kind of losing that crux. It's becoming more of a loosely used term and not being used as a way of thinking. So what I want to say here is that, we should not just look at the design project at hand. We should be probably looking at a macro picture of how this designed element will interact with different components of the market. How is it going to be marketed? What is the strategy behind it? How is the business kind of earn through all of these activities? All of these factors should be looked into while you are designing, and this is a message that I wanted to give to the designers here today. Also, looking at the processes and timelines, making sure that there's a very, very logical way how you're coming up with your ideation in a very, very logical, and there's a crisp thought process behind it. We should also be looking at the processes in a very, very crisp format and make sure that the timelines are getting met. I see this as a very, very major problem in most of the designers. When they are trying to meet the deadlines, they tend to miss these deadlines because they get so involved. So having a very, very concrete structure is very important. Moving on to the future part of the topic, which is, what lies ahead of us. What the times are changing. The future ahead of us is very, very blurry, primarily because, let's address the elephant in the room. Because of COVID, there are so many changes that have happened. There's an altered user behavior, the change in market landscape and the workspaces and the industries. I can also detail out, what has changed in the user behavior. There's a kind of a shift that is happening from very splurging lifestyle to a very lifestyle which is very dependent on value and essentials, and not focusing on the plethora of things that we were doing probably 6 months back from now. There's a very big change happening from physical space to a very, very digital and omni-channel kind of a zone. There's a very big shock to loyalty also. There are a lot of customers who were kind of loyal to one brand, and because there was not availability of this particular brand during the COVID season, they have kind of moved to the other brands that were available, and probably getting them back to their previously loyal brand would be very difficult. There's also a growing awareness towards the caring economy. The caring economy is just talking about how the packaging is changing, how everybody is just marketing that it's vacuum sealed, it's not touched, it's contactless. There's a lot of this user behavior that's coming in. Everybody is now restricted to their home spaces, and they are not ready to move out, even if the government allows everything to go back to the new normal. But people are not comfortable until and unless a medical body comes up and says, oh, hey guys, it's okay, there's a vaccine out and it's okay to step out of your houses. Until then, we are probably stranded, and this user behavior is going to keep evolving and keep changing. Of course, as I said, people are restricted to their workspaces, their homes. So the workplaces have changed drastically. Like the kind of interaction that you had, the kind of meetings that you had now are changing. There's a market landscape which has changed. There are so many businesses who we deem to be very, very strong, deep-rooted, but suddenly have just crumbled under the pressure. And we see more newer companies coming in, which we never expected they would still survive during this pandemic. They are coming up. So there's a very, very drastic change in the market landscape. Of course, different industries are also changing. like your edutech, your finance, all of these industries are seeing a major change from what they were 6 months back to what they're doing now. There are different kinds of products coming in. People are trying to come up with different solutions, and hence, designers also need to start thinking about these aspects. The second good part about the future is the new technologies. We are talking about AI here in different segments. So in terms of communication, in terms of collaboration, in terms of ideation and execution, there are a lot of products that are coming in, like Webflow, like Neos, and this concept of WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG means basically what you see is what you get. So these kind of different platforms are coming in and making the job of a designer much easier, and probably giving them more creative freedom, because there's a lot more that can be done with these tools coming in. I'll just give you a glimpse of the NVIDIA Gauguin tool so that you can probably have a look. Yeah.
Let's try and darken it up a bit with some cloud. That's wonderful. What if we were to change all that to rock? Let's try waterfalls by pulling water down from the top. Wouldn't it be great if everybody could be an artist? If we could take our ideas and turn them into compelling images? This technology allows us to create a smart paintbrush, so that if you wanted to create a new picture, you can just draw the shapes of the objects that you want, and the neural network can fill in all the details. If we add a water feature, the network is able to add reflections, not because we told it that, but because it learned it. Or if we change the ground to be covered in snow, then it knows that the sky also needs to be a different color. I really think this technology is going to be great for architects, designers, people making virtual worlds to train robots and self-driving cars. The input to this model is something we call a segmentation map. It's like a coloring book picture that describes, here's where a tree is, here's where the sky is, here's where the ground is, and it doesn't have any details. And then the neural network is able to fill in all texture and shadows and the colors based on things that it's learned from a large database of real-world images. I would like to see a tree reflecting in the pond. The real advance here is that we're able to synthesize images with a lot more diversity and more fidelity than we were able to in the past. I really think this technology is going to be great for the dreamers of the world.
Yeah. I hope you guys were able to listen to the audio. I think the first question that comes up is whether, we as designers become obsolete with all of these technological advancements, with all of this AI coming into the picture. Do we as designers, lose our job? Are these softwares or these tools going to do what we do? I think surely not, because I think there are so many aspects that we bring onto the table, which probably these AI tools will never be able to do. Because these AI tools are dependent on the data that is being fed into them, and they cannot grow beyond a certain extent. Of course, they can learn from all the data, but they cannot grow beyond a certain point. And it's only human to kind of have that kind of creativity, that kind of empathy towards the users, and that kind of emotion with which we work, the kind of passion that with which we work. I think that is never going to be there in AI, unless I'm proven wrong. So what do we do with looking all at the landscape currently, with the COVID situation, with the technological advancements, with the change in workplace? So what are we supposed to do now? The answer is probably very, very simple. We evolve. We evolve from where we are. We get out of our comfort zone. We get out of what we have been used to doing, and to adapt to this new norm. And new advancements in terms of technology, in terms of the users, the market space, everything, and we kind of learn from it and we adapt. Now, this is a bonus section that I've added, and this is from my learning while running this business. This is just busting the myths that I had when I started off, and I was a designer, and I just had to go out in the industry and learn from my own self. Here are some of the myths that I feel are there. So one, I've seen that people are like, my job is just to design this particular app. It's nothing to do more or less beyond that. I'm just going to concentrate. I'm just going to put my head down and work on this particular thing. I think design can never exist in isolation. Design has to coexist and has to take into consideration the other aspects of the business and call it a business and not just a design problem. The second myth is about that the client is all supreme. The client said that, the client said this, and moving according to whatever has been asked by the client and just obeying to that. This is again a myth. We should always kind of try and understand and put up a fight. And I don't agree with the opposite as well. That shooting down the client all the time and saying you don't understand what I've done, and this is how this problem should be tackled. We should always try and find a midway. For example, if I give you an example of a white space, I see a lot of memes coming up where designers are all fond of the white space, and then suddenly the client comes in, I want the logo to be bigger. But I think there's a point that the designer has and a point that the client has, and we should find a midway and kind of try and adjust so that the brand visibility is still there along with the aesthetic appeal of whatever product is being made. The third myth is that when I say they, I mean everybody, anybody and everybody, including the client or any of your other, friends and family who are looking at the design, and you just tend to say that you don't understand design, and you don't see the kind of masterpiece that I've created here. I think there's a gap there, because designers tend to put themselves on a pedestal. They tend to kind of down look at everybody else. I think that is very, very wrong. We should all get down from that and not consider ourselves as the that the entire universe depends on our work. We should try and incorporate all the feedback and try to make sense out of that feedback, and then kind of incorporate it in whatever you have created, whether it be an app, be it a physical product, or be it a brand identity, whatever it might be. It's important to look at every layman's comment as well. I'll close my presentation now. I want to just send out a few positives here for the graduating batch. It's a good thing that you're graduating at this point of time. One is that we as professionals, we've been used to working in a particular way, and now changing and adapting to this new form of workplace is getting tougher and tougher for us. But for you, since you'll be getting out at this moment itself, I think it will be easier for you to adapt to this changed lifestyle. There are, as I said earlier in the presentation, that there are so many better softwares that have come up, and it will make your job much easier, and it will kind of give you that kind of flexibility. I, for one, started my career when there were softwares like CorelDRAW, where the software would just crash every 5 minutes. And I think now is a very, very good time to kind of graduate in. There are different ways of collaboration. This is another new aspect that has come in. All softwares are kind of working towards collaboration. You and your friends can collaborate on one design project without being in the same physical space, and you can collaborate online, which is a very, very good big thumbs up. The other thing is that there are lots of avenues to make a difference in the world. When I say avenues, I mean social media, I mean Dribble, I mean Behance. There's so many different ways in which you can just quickly, create something and get it out to the world, and you have that kind of reach and that kind of voice that can be heard. Probably back in the day, we didn't have such great platforms, but it's a good thing for you guys. I think you guys have been awesome listening to me all this while. I'll, kind of close this and say, go on and rock the world.
Thank you, Prashasti ma'am. Yeah, so our next speaker is Nimisha Soni. Her expertise lies in material and techniques as well as monetizing traditional craft techniques into everyday life. From the past 15 years, she has been heading the design and product development at Michel Aram. I hope I've pronounced that right. So now I invite Nimisha ma'am.
Hi guys, I hope I'm audible to everyone. Just to correct, it's Michael Adam, and a very warm early evening to everyone. Also, congratulating the new batch who's just about to pass out and entering into this whole world right now. And I can't, I've been making notes of the past speaker, and she really spoke well about the current situation and the positive notes to the students as well. It's very important for them to feel positive at this time. I think for everyone to feel positive at this time. Uh, Thank you, first of all, for this great platform I can speak to, the fresh new generation and to all the mentors as well listening to me. I can relate to the last speaker as she said that she's a mom and it's been very hard. I'm also a pretty new mom. My kid is about to turn 2, so it's been a roller coaster life for me as well because managing work during this time, managing my family, managing my home, managing my child, it's been very difficult. But I think at the end of the day, hope and is something which has carried me, and I surely hope that it should carry a lot of people ahead. Just to give a brief introduction to myself, to add few things. I'm a pass out, and I'm an alumni from NIFT, New Delhi. Passed out from accessory design in around 2005. While I was interning at Michael Adam. Brief introduction to who Michael is for people who don't know. He is an American-born lifestyle product designer. We do luxury products. We do tableware. We do furniture lighting. We do a bit of textiles as well. He's been working with Indian craftsmen for over 30 years. Incredible journey he's been on, and I've been so privileged. He's mentored me from the beginning for past 15 years, and he calls me his right hand. I'm honored for that. It's been an amazing journey with him. When I started as an intern with him, I honestly had no clue because I did not know the materials. I had no idea stainless steel could do such things, amazing things. And it has really taught me working with so many amazing craftsmen which we have in our office, in our factory, people around Muradabad, even in, I'm sorry to say, but China, amazing craftsmen, amazing skill level. And, that is what is the future. But, going back to the topic that I chose is actually very close because it's very important. In today's world, home has become so important to us. We have all been at home in a lockdown situation, but in isolation and in difficult circumstances, it has posed such a great opportunity to give our house, our home, a special importance. And it's always been a place of comfort to us. It's always been a place of, now we're adding a bit of sort of, we want that sort of more than comfort, we want luxury, we want something more. We're not going out for shopping, we're not having that feeling of shopping, we're not eating out. So we want that back. We want that. We are human beings. We have wishes, we have dreams to fulfill. People want to invest in their homes, making their everyday moments special. I've been seeing people posting so many cooking things. They're cooking together with family, making recipes, celebrating small moments like this. And, where we stand is we're trying to, as a brand, we've been working with beautiful, amazing precious metals like brass, stainless steel, aluminum for over so long, and trying to uplift the craftspeople, the beautiful techniques that they have, hammering, the handmade nature of pieces, trying to incorporate that in our designs. We've been in lockdown and trying to do these amazing design calls, design meetings from home. And, things were not working well because again, as I'm going to quote from the early speaker, design does not work in isolation. It doesn't. You have to be present there. Your full focus, you have to be, the mind has to be there, the physical aspect, everything. And, immediately when we joined back office, we've been working and things just started happening. And, just to speak about the current situation, you know, uh, that, we've been seeing an amazing trend. We've been hearing from Michael over these calls that, how as a brand we were 33% down. And the moment we came back, we've shown to our buyers who are the biggest stores in, United States of America, like Neiman Marcus, if you've heard of, Macy's and Bloomingdale's. Uh, when they saw our upcoming collection, I mean, can you imagine? They were amazingly thrilled. They were ecstatic because, because they expect something amazing from Michael, his vision, his ability to create this space, which we call home, something which is comfortable, something which is beautiful, something you want to use again. So we've been trying to incorporate that in whatever feedback we've been getting from our people, our customers, our loyal people who love Michael's work over these years. And we've seen that, the most important thing right now in today's time is togetherness, being together. And one thing, or, be it everything, from a simple bucket, having its multifunctional use in a home, and finding creativity in that, during dinner time, because we belong to a tabletop industry, we have to be even more creative, think more than out of the box than we've been doing that. So, I mean, for the new generation, I think for the people who are passing out, I think the there is no challenge, I would say. It's, just, I think two things. One, listen to yourself and listen to the world, what's happening around you. Where would you like to connect yourself to? Where would you like your presence to be felt? There are a lot of different fields. I can tell you, I have my classmates from NIFT, and I have my batchmates from fashion design, and you can't even imagine what fields they have gone into after doing a fashion design course. One is a very popular florist of New Delhi, and one is a creative director for Bazaar magazine. And I'm seeing people, you know, uh, taking different paths because they understand what is the requirement of today's world. Or, so it's very important to understand where we are at right now. Uh, the second thing is that, people. I'm so sorry. I really wanted to put some presentation on, but unfortunately I didn't get any time. But I'm still going to talk a little bit more. You know, Clothes. I just want to talk about because we belong to this wonderful industry of fashion and accessory design, and a lot of time is being spent. You see a lot of Instagram, a lot of Facebook updates on, people are getting into comfort wear. People are getting into functional aspects, making their leisure and more casual, more comfort. So again, it all relates back to home. Home is what our new future is. Home where we belong to. Home is something which we are cherishing right now. And as a brand, I think we're trying to make it more beautiful, more storytelling. That's what our brand is also about. We tell beautiful stories in the way of we create something, be it a beautiful branch from a cherry blossom tree. Since we're very American, it's an American brand. We try to choose things which relate to people and relate to especially Michael, who's been working in India for a very long time, since 1982, and with these craftspeople. And he's been we just launched a very beautiful collection based on stainless steel and with brass. It's called the Lodi Garden Collection. Please do go online and check. It's inspired by our Lodi gardens, and it's such a simple collection, yet the use of these beautiful precious material has been so the key to the aspect of using amazing techniques of crafts into everyday lifestyle products. And in current scenario, in today's world, craft and sustainability definitely make better products. It's definitely something I think everyone is looking forward to. Uh, as we say that sustainability, our brand is not, I would say, I'm going to be very honest, we're not 100% sustainable, but we're 100% craft, we're 100% celebration of it. Uh, what we're trying to do in our brand is something which we see for the future as, comfortable home products. I would give my experience a note from my experience. Been working with Michael under his mentorship. Uh, as I said, that I did not imagine stainless steel to be such a malleable, amazing material. when I was doing my design inter, I could honestly not design anything in stainless steel. And once I got to work with the craftsmen, we actually sit down with the craftsmen, we actually do welding. One of the person who's listening right now is Harsh Chandra, and he's our amazing ex teammate, and he introduced me to his college, and I really thank him for that. He's one of a very good, bright student. Harsh, I hope you're listening to that, and I really hope that you appreciate, because we do miss you a lot, and we miss your work, we miss you. So you know, it's the work of these craftsmen which is the future. I'm not saying that I'm honestly not in a phase of let's ban China, let's not. I mean, whatever has happened. We gotta live as again, to put my earlier speaker, whatever has happened, and we have to work in whatever we have right now to our best possible ways and our best possible solution. uh, you know be it I'm driving to office every day. I'm doing that for a 1 hour drive from Gurgaon to Greater Noida, coming back to my kid tired like hell. But that is what life is right now about. So I think none of us should give up hope. None of us should give in to whatever is happening right now. I think we should really look forward to this new world, this new life. I think the time is to appreciate, to be really thankful, and you know, looking at the future. I think more brightly. To give a few points to the the graduating students. I know I'm just taking the time out. It's 4:35 almost. Guys, I think be fearless. Be fearless. Please don't worry if you don't get a job. Honestly, I didn't worry when I didn't know if I was going to be hired. I was just happy to be a part of this amazing, uh, group of people at that point of time who were mentoring me to be someone who I'm actually really proud of right now, and I sure hell my kid is proud of. Um, be open to new things, really, to be open to change, I would say. That's what will keep you going on. um, and I would say that it's positive notes all the way through to everyone across, not just students, to everyone, that as much as we love our our everything, we should love our home, we should respect our home, we should make it our heaven, because that's what we're coming back to. And please, people who don't know, please go and check out our website, www.michaelaron.com. You will see the wonderful, amazing work which the team we are putting up here. We've got a beautiful team of designers from NIST all across, and they're really working hard. And I really thank them for what they're doing. Team across the United States of America, Michael spearheading our operations, spearheading our CEO, spearheading our designs. It's amazing. We do a set. I mean, can you imagine the amount of creativity, positivity, the hope that we're having? We are doing a 7:30 a.m. call with our boss because we know that he won't be able to travel to us to India for a long time. And we are so charged up. He is so charged up, looking at us, seeing our amazing work. We do, the sculptures we're doing, the tabletop we're doing, the beautiful lighting we're doing, all for whom? All for people are actually awaiting to things to open up. People are waiting and things don't open up. Can we shop online? So online shopping has been right now the most trendiest thing everywhere, not just across USA. I think just across everywhere. So I think I'm gonna end this call because I think it's my time is almost over. Thank you so much again. I hope I made sense, honestly speaking. Thank you again a lot, and good luck to everyone. Thank you for making me a part of this beautiful, all right, journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nimisha ma'am. Thank you so much. So, our next speaker our next speaker is a designer and technologist in Fjord, Stockholm. He is a graduate from Royal College of Art, London. His work, like Airwire, a gesture-driven human-computer interaction technology, or his recent film, The Doohickey, that was screened with Stockholm's Speculative Futures chapter, shows a great affinity towards the technological future. So, I would now like to present to you Viraj Joshi, our third speaker for the day.
Hello, It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to you guys, and it's really nice to see you guys. And I really like the previous talk as well. And the themes of hope and fearlessness are also things that I'm going to carry through in my talk as well. So without further ado, I'm now going to share my screen. And classic question, can you see my screen? Is that a yes?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think it's
Viraj.
good.
Oh, fantastic. Cool. So, hello. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden right now. And when I was reached out to talk to you guys, I was also having a chat with a friend, and we were generally talking about our future at that time. And then we were thinking, what is it in our future that we are excited about or we are curious about? And my friend's future sounded like it was very structurally planned. It was very strategic. What's going to happen in 2020, what's going to happen in 2021, and so forth. And I said, in comparison to that, my future just sounds like it's vaguely constructing semi-coherent wishes, because I'm just sort of finding my way around here. But then I thought that would be a fantastic way to start off this talk. And that became the title of this talk as well. So my name is Viraj. I work as a designer, as a technologist, and I have great affinity for speculation. So thinking about the future in all different ways. So I think about the future not only through science fiction, which I love writing and consuming as well, but also through strategy, also through design fiction and many other different ways. But instead of only thinking and talking and writing about the future, I also like making. I love emerging technology, and then I have had a history of working with tons of different technologies in order to prototype things. So that's me. I was at this course called Innovation Design Engineering, which was my master's course at the Royal College of Art and Imperial College London. I was there from 2016 to 2018. This is what the studio perpetually looks like. We had smells of resin being poured, someone soldering some electronics in the corner, someone just back from the wood workshop completely soaked in sawdust, and someone doing a service design map. So it was always crazy. It was always full of energy, and we'd be there 24/7. And from there, I jumped into Fjord Stockholm, a design and innovation agency, about 16 months ago. And it is super clean, as you can see. That was the biggest contrast to me, the cleanliness. And I think this difference of going from innovation design engineering to Fjord, I never planned it. It was never a strategic planning thing. I just had a vague wish of maybe I would like to work in a global consultancy at some point of time. And surely enough, that worked out in a certain way. So before heading into my work, I'm going to show you how we can think about the future as creatives. So to the left, you have art, and to the right, you have strategy. Now, feel free to take screenshots. And we also have a link down there where I've taken this particular image from. And I think this is a wonderful way of putting together all the different ways in which we can think about the future. So to the right, we have strategy, left, we have art, as I said. And so art is really unconstrained. It is about expression. It is about interpretation, whereas strategy is much more driven by business, driven by people, driven by money. And in between, you have design, because you have the luxury of being experimental, and at the same time, you also are extremely structured, and you're working towards a business. And there are many ways of thinking about future within design. You have critical design, you have speculative design, design fiction, and design futures. Very often, these words are thrown around interchangeably, although that's not, I mean, if you were to go down to the details, they're not exactly the same thing. So, but you can pretty much at many parts use them interchangeably. So I'm going to talk through some of my work, and then hopefully that's going to make sense. So this is Airwire. It's my major master's project in my colleges, and it is a gesture-driven electronics prototyping system. Now, what that means is, in order to type code, what you would normally do is you would open up a window and you would learn how to type code, and that is a completely different language. That's not a language that humans use. It's literally a language that computers used. So understanding it and coding with it and making something with it is just super high barrier to entry. Like, understanding that and remembering that code is really hard. And that is something that I struggled with as well. And so I thought it would be fantastic to command electronics just using finger gestures. And that really was the starting point of Airwire. And this is where it actually was halfway through the process when I was thinking how to make electronics simpler. And even though it was an effort which had tons of engineering, lots of iterations, this was a project that took over a year for me to completely get to the finality of it. But at the same time, this whole idea of commanding electronics through only finger gestures is not something that could come through a classical technology process or an engineering process. For me, that inspiration came from science fiction and the idea of fantasy, and just when you saw Mickey Mouse and Fantasia, the old Disney film, where he could command waves with his hands, or if you see a magician literally moving things with his arms, that is where the inspiration came from. So the inspiration was very narrative-based, and that was what led to this particular project. I've been talking about this project for 2 years now, and I guess, so it was shown at the Science Museum in London, and also at London Design Festival, of which I'm super proud. And apart from all the other things that happened to it, so it's patent pending right now, and I tried for more than 6 months to try to make it in a startup before understanding that startup is not really something what I want to do, so I went another way. But beyond like all these things that came to it through in say a certification point of view, that you've shown in this exhibition and you've shown at that museum, what was more important to me is just talking to all these people at all these places. And in the 4 exhibitions that I did with Airwire in London, all 4 of them were about 15 to 20 days apart, and some of them were actually 2 months apart. And every time I went to every particular exhibition, I essentially improved a bit on the design. And on the last one, it had just become much more finished and better than ever before. And it was so much fun to listen to the people, and that's what really matters the most. When you are showing something at the exhibition, people understand it, they play around with your interaction. That's really, really fun. And it's no surprise that I was coming up with Airwire at the same time that I wrote my first science fiction story. And it's called Anomaly in the Rhythm, and it's set in a world in 2080, and it is about universal basic income in a world where everyone living in London gets equal amount of salary, and then people can do what they want with their life. And it was a story about technology, and I saw that the story that I wrote, or the science fiction that I write, is essentially seeping into the technology work that I do, and the technology and design work that I do is coming to my science fiction. So there was a lot of exchanges over there, which I was really excited about exploring. And I submitted that story to this group called Virtual Futures, and I was lucky enough to be called by them and perform this, in order to perform this story in front of about 50 to 60 people in a pub in London. And that was really exciting. And later this year, it's going to be printed in a selection of short stories. So I'm quite excited for my story to be out there on Amazon in a book format. I then moved on to Fjord, and Fjord is a global agency. We have 33 different offices around the world, and I work at the Stockholm office. And we work on Fjord trends every single year. So this is essentially forecasting of trends happening in technology, happening in business, happening around humans. And what we essentially do is we produce this massive report, a 100-page report of what happens in 2020. What are the different technologies coming up? How will people react? What would businesses be like? So I'd give you an example of that. One of them is walking barcodes that came up this year. Now, of course, this is an effort that has happened through 33 studios, and then it has been curated in London, and then it came out. But through about 1,500 different designers, technologists have worked on this. But we agreed upon these 7 trends for 2020. And this particular one is walking barcodes. And the idea is that because we have data all around us, because we have so many devices that collect the data, I mean, literally, I've got 4 devices in my room right now, which can be commanded by voice, which is a bit strange. And I feel that our data has just been given off everywhere. And I'm sure you guys have seen the recent Reliance Jio presentation that happened earlier this week. And so it doesn't matter whether it's in the Western world or in the Indian context, or even the Asian and Chinese context. These technologies are coming to everyone at the same time. And this is exactly what the trend talks about. So these trends are available on the Fjord website if you want to go have a look at them and be inspired for your future projects as well, and think about where the future is going in terms of technology and business. Completely opposite to that, when the trends was an effort which was strategic, which was business-led, and which was focused at the industry. The Doohickey is a film that I made at Fjord as well, and it it is a design fiction film. So it is driven by a narrative. And of course, it touches upon technology. It talks about how big Google is. It talks about how big Facebook and Amazon is, and how everyone just keeps on collecting data from us. And this Fjord was super. I'm super glad that Fjord gave me the time and the chance to build on this, apart from all the client work that we do. And I also got to show this film to the people inside of Fjord multiple number of times in order to get their critique and build upon it. And now it's become a film that not only talks about augmented reality and about the nature of these big tech companies, it also became something that Fjord has released through their channels, their social media channels. And every time we have a client who we want them to get excited about the future, we can start with this film and then get them excited about thinking about the future, and also show to them that we think about the future in a very ethical sense, in a sense of empathy with all the people going in the future. And you can see a little QR code there. So if you would like to watch the film, feel free to, again, take a screenshot or just raise your phones and go to the link and watch my film. And I'd be very happy if you guys told me what you think of the film. Moving on from there, so this is my most recent project, which has been going on for about 6 to 7 months now. It's called Postcards from the Future, and it's a speculative and critical design project. So I'm working with 22 different people in this one, people that I've met in different walks of life in the last 4 years. And they are designers, technologists, historians, engineers, curators, researchers, writers, and much more. And the idea is that I find that very often I'm just a generalist. Like I think about technology, I think about design, I work as a designer, and there's all these different things that happen in my mind. But I'm not, although I am passionate about sustainability, I'm not passionate as someone who's working as someone who's a sustainable designer. And I thought that's exactly why I thought I should work with these different professionals. And with each of them, I'm producing a snapshot of the future, and they're all going to be postcards. And as of today, we have done 24 out of 30. And when 30 are done, I'm going to sell them and print them out and think of different ways in which you can use them. So for example, this is a particular snapshot about the future, which talks about how absurd it is that technology companies now regulate our money. So you have Apple Pay, you have Google Pay, and me and this friend from London, what we did was we produced a snapshot which shows that in order to pay on a Google terminal with an Apple phone, you would need an exchange rate. So it's an exchange rate within technologies and not within countries. And that itself was an absurd thing to us. So this is like a little science fiction story shown through visuals. And quite excited to put this out and see it through, actually. So this is where I map my projects, essentially. And this is where they go. So I've been touching upon several different ways of thinking about the future through design, through technology, through just narratives and science fiction. But that said, I should now shut up about myself and talk about you guys and talk about the world that you guys are heading in. So very often we have this idea that utopia and dystopia are opposing alternate futures. If everything goes bad, we are going into a dystopian Black Mirror world where everything's going to go bad. And if everything goes right, then we are going to head into utopia where everything is done properly. But I honestly think that both utopia and dystopia are happening now. So what I want to say with that is that, so when I moved to Stockholm about 16 months ago, from that day till now, I've not physically seen their currency. Every month when I get paid, I see a certain number as a notification on my phone. And then while payment as well, I used either my card or my phone in order to pay. And not having to carry money, not having to worry about being robbed, or not having to save stacks of money inside of my house is itself a utopian idea for many people. This is happening at the same time as things inside of Syria or all the different natural disasters happening or the coronavirus happening. So that is very dystopian in a sense. So, and that's not to say that Sweden itself is a utopian country. It's far from it. In fact, we see shades of utopia and dystopia happening at all places around the world. And even in the worst hit places of the world, you would still find acts of kindness. You would still find happiness. So, which is why I think utopia and dystopia are just unevenly distributed, and they're just all around us right now. This is, if you talk to any futurists, this is their favorite tool to talk about. It's called the Futures Corner. It's also one of the first ones. So imagine you have, so what we have over here is to the left, we have now, and to the right, we have future. And imagine nothing changed from now till the future. It doesn't matter when it is, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is. imagine nothing changed. There are no new laws. None of the laws that we pass are repealed. There are no new technologies. People don't live in any different ways. Everything's at a standstill, much like when it was when we were cavemen before we invented fire. I think then we are just going to go towards a probable future, which is something that's highly likely to happen. But what happens the moment we come up with our new designs, our new technologies, we put them out in the world, people start using them and things change. There are new laws, some laws are repealed, and especially in the light of the Black Lives Matter movement, the reason why they are forcing and pushing for this protest is because they want a preferable future where everything is equal for them. So every time we want to change towards a preferable future, we have to make that effort, whether it's through design, whether it's through policy, whether it's through technology, or anything else. And I feel that that change from a probable to a preferable future is that of value. And so, for example, if you see all the projects that I showed to you, some of them were strategy-driven, some of them were technology-driven, some of them were narrative-driven. But what was common in all of them was that they were all driven by value. They were all driven by people, and they were all driven by design, because design is literally the only proper skill set that I have, that I've been trained in. And I can use that in order to talk to people, understand what they want, and deliver a value. Now that value can be different for different people. For someone, it can be empathy with the people who are less able. It can be being sure that you are ethical with your use of technology and ethical around privacy. Sustainability is a massive, massive value. And what I'm going to propose is, it doesn't matter if you have a strategic plan to go ahead in your future, especially right now, graduating in these strange times when you're not even in the same room when you're graduating. I think this is a very special time in order to construct your futures as well, because it doesn't matter if you have a strategic plan for it. You just need to vaguely construct semi-coherent wishes, and that's totally fine. So what can you vaguely construct semi-coherent wishes for? I would ask you guys to think about, what is your measure of success? Very often we see this other person getting a good job, and this third person getting starting a successful startup, and this fourth person who has this one video of their work that goes viral on Instagram. But is all of that your measure for success? Or is one of that for a measure for your success, your personal success, and the kind of work that you do and the kind of projects that you've done? Or I would also ask you to think about, what are your values as a designer? Those are the things that are going to drive us in the future. So is it ethical use of technology? Is it sustainability and resilience? Is it empathy with the less abled? These are the things that you can be driven by in order to produce your design outputs that you do, and head into a world as a person who creates actual good change. So thank you very much. That's me, and all the very best going into the future.
Thank you, Viraj. I would like to remind everyone again that if they have any questions, please type them in the chat box. And so we'll have those questions taken up after the panel discussion. So our next speaker before the panel discussion is Soham Sinha. He has played different roles in his career, ranging from working as a design strategist, UX lead, product designer, industrial designer, and also an architect. He is currently the senior product designer at Bajaj Finserv in Pune. I now hand over the virtual mic to Soham sir.
Thank you, Pankuri. Thank you very much. Yeah, so Pankuri, that was a great introduction. I think just want to add something. So I am a SP Bhopal graduate myself. So in a way, I was there at that side of the table only a few years ago. So congratulations, first of all. It's an amazing, great journey. I hope the last 2 years has been really great for you guys. Saurabh sir was my faculty in, I think, my 4th year. He just joined SP Bhopal, and he had been an amazing inspiration for me throughout my career. So before starting, amazing talk, Viraj. I mean, it was really amazing work. Great work, man. Today I am going to talk about a little bit about how our UX is getting shaped up, or UX practice is getting shaped up. I know you guys are industrial design students. Few of you has done maybe specialization in UX, but I know a lot of you are going to do on UX jobs. I know this because a lot of you guys got placed in my earlier company. So Cool. So I'll start my presentation. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Just a second. No, it's not visible yet.
Okay, so let me try that. So now, something is happening. Just interesting. You can see my screen now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So the future of UX. Can I start?
Yes, please.
So what is UX? The funny thing is there are a lot of UX professionals now, and there are a lot of people who are practicing UX for a very long time, but there is no official concrete definition for UX. So what we are going to do, we are going to ask the experts. So Dan McCuskey, who is the design VP at Walmart Studio, put it this way: is you can't design experiences, but you can design for them. And I think it's absolutely true that you can't create someone's experiences, but you can design certain things which can give them good experiences. Now, Mariek Mikulski, she is a director of research at user testing, and she is one of the most badass UX researcher of current days. She called it as UX design is a commitment to building products with the customer in mind. Now, obviously, she is correct, but UX is a little bit broader than the product itself. So we'll ask the father of modern UX, which is Donald Norman. He is actually the person who coined the term. So according to his point of view is, I thought human interface and usability were too narrow. So I wanted to cover all aspects of the person's experience with the system, including industrial design, graphics, the interface, the physical interaction, and the manual. So, I mean, he kind of nailed it. So obviously, with all the other definitions in mind, and since, as Pankuri just mentioned, I also belong to multiple background where I have worked as an architect, I have worked as a design strategist. So my definition of UX design is the practice of influencing variables which cause a desired response. Now, why desired response? Because not always the user is looking for a good experience, right? Now, I hope all of you guys have heard about this new mobile sensation called PUBG, right? Now, if it was too easy to play, would you guys like it? I don't think so. So sometimes the desired response is to make the experience a little difficult, right? So the idea is to influence the variables. So Ben Barnes, who is the chief operating officer in the future, he says, do what you can to make people feel great when they use your stuff. And I think this is the closest to the perfect definition of user experience in current days. Now, basically, he also mentioned something called interaction and constant iterative validation. Now, constant iterative validation gives you a 51% chance of the to build a better relationship. Now, why 51%? Because you get to do it over and over again. Unlike architecture, I'm giving architecture references because I'm assuming that a lot of architects are in the room. So, unlike architecture, it doesn't cost much to build a product, digital product, right? Unlike industrial design, it doesn't cost much to build a mold, right? I mean, for an automobile, if you are making the mold, then it's little difficult to redesign it again. But for a digital product, you can do quicker cycles. Sometime as there's this product tool, I think you guys all use it, called Adobe XD. So they create a new, they do a new feature launch every 15 to 16 days, right? Now, there comes the present, or let's say the current scenario. So it's called the golden age of UX. This is a term coined by Jonathan Courtney, who is the founder director at AJ and Smart. So he calls the golden age of UX is over, which is from 2009 to 2018. Don't get panicked. You don't. It's not like the UX jobs are going to go down and stuff like that. He didn't invent it like that way. He's saying the golden age of UX was 2009, because in 2009 people don't knew much about UX, and the expectation was low. So the demand was a little low than what it is right now, and the supply was even lower. I mean, there was very less designers who were doing UX design, and the folks people from your batch who will be joining Infosys, you guys will be meeting a lot of people who will be the senior UX designer, design principals, whose background is mostly web design or graphic design, right? They are not as trained or as educated as you guys, but they are in the industry for a very longer time. So the idea was like, currently what's happening, the students or the new graduates who are just graduating now, let's say your batch, you guys have access to all of this brilliant stuff on YouTube. There are a lot of amazing podcasts. There are a lot of good books about UX, and there are a lot of good mentors who are willing to help. But the story was not similar earlier. So, getting into UX was much easier. Becoming a successful UX designer was way easier. And, getting a good job was also easier. Now, for you guys, because you guys are coming, and also, unfortunately or fortunately, the COVID thing happened. Now, while switching a UX career or while going ahead with the UX career, you guys have to consider certain other things. And these are the skills which you have touched upon on your, let's say, graduation and master's degree, but you guys have to work on a little bit on that. And there are a lot of good articles and books regarding these directions also. So first thing, which is the bare minimum, which is you have to understand the business. Now, if you're working in the service industry, so whenever you are trying to cater a client, you have to understand the business the client is in. I mean, I don't like designing. I don't like designing for banks, but I have spent 2.5 years working for Finacle, right? I didn't even like the concept of fintech earlier, but when I understood the business, it was fun. It was, I was happy. The design I was producing, which is, I think I can't say better, but it was quite good, and they have brought some money to the company, right? Now, there are three major things which you guys should look into. Which first one is understand the product strategy. Now, usually, a lot of the time when you join a startup or a smaller company, you have to understand the product strategy first, because based on the product strategy, the companies usually take certain decisions, right? And a lot of the time, I have seen in my classmates, in my juniors and my seniors also, a lot of the time there is a huge fight going on with the product team or the marketing team, because the designer and the product team couldn't agree on a similar part. So there are some good, interesting read. So there's this amazing article by Vince Law. It's called "What the Fuck is a Product Strategy." It's on Medium. It's a 9 minutes read. So go check it out. It's amazing. And also there is this amazing writer called M.G. Sigler. He has 3 articles called "Livier a Squid Novel," where he respectively talk about the product strategy of Tesla, Netflix, and Amazon. It's a very good. It will give you a very good insight about how product strategies are built and how what actually the product teams expect from a UX design. Second thing is you have to understand the growth as a UX metric, right? Now, a lot of the time, I mean, when you join, maybe later in your career as a UX designer, a lot of you guys will face this issue that they'll give you an maybe an irritating target, like for example, I'll give my example. So one of the product which my company is trying to sell, so they have a target of achieving 7,500 units for a month, right? And it's already 18th of the month, and they have sold only 500 pieces. So now they are asking me to do some changes so that they can reach at least 80% of the target. Right? Now, to understand growth as a metric, there are some good reads, which is Hacking Growth. There's this book by Sean Elias called Hacking Growth, which is an amazing book. Just go have a read at it. I think it will be there on the SP library as well. You guys can go back to the campus. So yeah, just order your copy from Amazon or try to get an ebook. Then third thing is understanding marketing and brand. Now, marketing is the unit which was there for a very longer period of time than UX, especially in case of India. Now the thing is, lot of UX decisions or lot of design decisions which has to be taken by the designer lies with the marketing. So obviously, in future you will have a clash or let's say differences of opinion with marketing. To avoid that, or let's say to smartly handle that, I think you have to understand how marketers think. You have to understand so when designers think of brand, they think of the brand guidelines or brands, let's say the branding or identity design part of it. But how marketers think brand is a little different. Not exactly opposite, but it's a little different, right? So there's this guy called Gary Vee. I think he has this amazing podcast called Listen with Gary Vee. Then he has lot of social media accounts, follow him on Instagram, check out his YouTube channel, you'll get a heck of it. Then there's something called Product Marketing for Pirates by Dave McClane. Now, Dave, it's a 4-pager or 5-pager PPT, and it actually tells you a lot about marketing jargons and stuff like that. So I think that would be a good read to go through. Now, so what is the future of UX, or where we see ourselves in the future? So if you look at the first mouse, which was created in 1968, if you look at the Magic Mouse, which Apple has created, sorry. So it has a difference of 25 years in between. Now, in those 25 years, our lifestyle has changed a lot or evolved a lot. Okay, we don't think or talk the same way. We don't use the same products, and we don't behave the same way. So, a lot of socio-cultural aspects are the reason or the trigger point to do all these changes. Now, some of you will be continuing in industrial design, so just think of it. Maybe in near future, this UX, industrial design, product design, these barriers are going to break. I mean, maybe an architect will be designing an amazing digital product, or maybe a product designer will be creating amazing public places. So that's going to happen, and that's where, in my opinion, we are heading eventually. So a lot of collaboration work would be there, and products will be much more smoother, sleeker, and better performing. Now, Dr. Prabjot Singh, who is the director of system design of Earth Institute, had put it in a very amazing way. And I'm putting this because this also summarizes how Indians perceive design. So he says, we spend a lot of time designing the bridge, but not enough time thinking about how the people are going to use it, or we don't think about the people who are going to cross it, right? So, I mean, if you look at it, so I'm giving some movie references, like, Millennium Falcon, as shown as Chapter 3, which is Return of the Jedi. It was released in 1983. So, at that point of time, we thought the future of spacecraft or future of spaceships or any ship will look like this. But it looks like this. Okay? Sometime when we predict the future, we tend to put ourselves in the boundaries of the current technologies, but future might be something way more amazing. So you have to be prepared for that as designers. As designers, this is your responsibility on a larger scale, that probably whatever future the whole generation or whole mass population has desired, to go a notch above that, to provide something better, to give something which they couldn't even imagine. Right? Now, an interesting fact with 1983 is Microsoft Word was also released in 1983, almost 37 years ago. And in 2018, they had a rebranding of the whole Microsoft Office. But the thing is, after 37 years of journey and being a Microsoft product, people still have trouble printing a Word document. Your text getting haywire, your images not printed properly, position changes and whatnot. So, don't just build a Microsoft Word. I mean, Microsoft Word is again a great product, but don't build a product which works good, which only works good. Build a product which is usable. I mean, why people are using Wix? People are not going to any coders. People are just creating their website because Wix understood the need of the time. Wix understood the need of the people. Like, what is a bare minimum demand for a person who wants to start their own business and who wants to put a website, and they just created it. They just created a tool which can give that. So don't over design. Don't clutter your product with lot of design inputs and stuff like that. Make it. I mean, again, I'm going back to the keep it simple, silly principle. Okay. Now, the future. So there is a tectonic shift in the new technology, and it might change the world as you know. So obviously, it's going to change the UX practice also. So here are 5 major points which are going to be a real benchmarks in future. And I think when you start your practice, you should be aware of all these things, and you should start researching in that domain so that you always have an upper hand. So end of smartphone era. The smartphones, as you know, might get obsolete. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be no smartphones, but not in the current format. Also, a decreasing in manufacturing smartphones, as is already been predicted for lack of innovation cycle. Now, smartphones, I mean, this touch-based phone, I think the same kind of models came around 5 years ago. Now the innovation cycle demands to be, let's say, a year or less than a year, maybe, if possible. So yeah, so when you're getting into UX and let's say majorly in UI, don't just think that if you're good at creating good screens, that's going to take care of you in the future. You have to understand the principle first, and probably someday you might get hired by Netflix and they might ask you to design it for a larger screen, for auditorium, right? The second is the new era of wearable or hearable device. So as Viraj was mentioning earlier, so our whole life and our whole lifestyle has been littered with Amazon Echo or let's say Siri, OK Google and stuff like that. So hearable devices are going to be one of the major part of user interaction. So there might be a chance that you'll have an user interaction without a screen. You will probably talk to the product and stuff like that. So if you go and look at how Tesla has designed their dashboards, it's an amazing case study. And it will give you some good pointers where they have broken the barrier of physical screen design, or let's say, or how physical car dashboard used to be designed earlier. They have broken the barrier. They have treated it as a new product. They have tried to innovate in smaller scale. So obviously, like, we don't live in the era of let's say 1800, right, where you are, when a single small innovation is path breaking. We are not in the same era. So our innovations are smaller. Our innovations are maybe multiple innovation came together and create a larger impact. But you have to innovate on your daily schedule or daily life as designers. And it doesn't matter however small it is, it will help you to grow as a designer. So yeah, I took the reference of Wakanda's kimono beads. Now, tech-enabled fashion. So a lot of UX designers are going to get into in the domain of fashions. A lot of engineers are going to get into the domain of fashion. So clothing brands will hire innovators to embody new tech into their clothing. So this is a small example which I think pitched by. So they want to create a smart textile which absorbs solar energy and charge your device to put them in pocket. Now it might sound a little hilarious, but eventually they are going towards certain things like that. To give you a reference, the Mockingjay, where Jennifer Garner just walks into the stage and her dress got on fire. So the fourth point would be global automation. So research from McKinsey writes that 45% of the current jobs can be automated. Okay, so it is just a matter of time when the odd jobs will be replaced by robotics. Things work in manufacturing, work in delivering stuff and all those things. Obviously, craft will still be there, but maybe not in the same way. Maybe some part of craft will also get automated, right? So based on that, it is going to create a ripple effect, and it is going to create how products are designed. Probably for automation, you have to create, maybe different type of UX, different type of interaction. Maybe a voice command to run your robotics and stuff like that. So the fifth point is we are going towards a direction where the best interface is no interface. So the common GUI, which is graphical user interface, probably won't be there in the current format. It will evolve. So a new generation of industrial designers will come, will create this amazing product with very bare minimum interface on top of it. Voice UI, virtual reality, cloud-based services will take place of current products, and that is going to create a larger ripple effect throughout the future. Now, I know the presentation is supposed to make you a little gloomy and probably a little tensed about the future, but then Jacob Nielsen is there with an assuring hand. So Jacob Nielsen presented this as one of his keynote speak, where he was talking about UX in 100-year view. So this is a logarithmic graph of how Jacob Nielsen sees a 100-year view. Number of UX professionals will grow up in exponentially, and eventually, not everyone in the UX profession will be doing the same kind of job, but there will be way too much jobs, way too much opportunity, and stuff like that. And an amazing fact is we don't live in a logarithmic world. We live in a linear world. So this same graph looks like this in linear. So maybe within a few years there would be a jump hike on UX jobs, and probably you guys are in the best position to grab that opportunity. There are a lot of jobs going to be opened. There are a lot of new kind of domains to explore, and the possibilities are endless, right? And to give you guys another good news, which is Google had announced that the way they rank the websites from 2021, they are going to propose UX as one of the factors. So a product or a digital product or a website which has better UX, they will get ranked up earlier in the Google results. So that means a lot of the companies which haven't thought of adding designers or hiring designers yet, they will start hiring. Okay, so it's the future looks quite great for UX, hopefully. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. So hope you people have some questions for our speakers. Please type those questions, because now this is the time for the panel discussion. So for which I would request all our speakers to please switch on their mics, and please feel free to stop me at any point to add on to the topic. So I would like to start with the most commonly posed question, and I guess a lot of you have already answered it. But still, I would like to start with Prashasti ma'am. How did your professional journey start, and the obstacles that you faced? Since this is about the design brewery starting, so how was that journey?
I think we're going to exhaust the next few days for this question because it has been quite a journey, and I think an entrepreneurial journey is quite challenging in all terms, in physical, mental, financial, all terms. It's very, very challenging to start your own business. And I don't know if I mentioned it during the talk, but I'm the only founder. So I don't have a partner to support me and who I can rely on if I'm sick or if I'm unwell. There's nobody to kind of fall back on. So it's been very, very tough. I started this without any knowledge of UX or UI, and my first project was in UX. And I took that up. I took the plunge. It was literally like taking a dip into the water without knowing swimming, and you just try and kind of wave your hands all along or whatever, do anything and everything to survive, stay afloat. That's exactly what I did. I started with hiring a few people who knew what they were doing, and then went on with the journey. I hit a lot of roadblocks in between. People, kind of bailing on me. There were people in my team who got together and started their own company, started poaching my clients. That has happened. I've had a team member on site, on a client's on site, and has suddenly walked out. So there are lots and lots of things that have happened. But what I can say ultimately here is that I have learned through each and every point of this. And I think each experience was important for us to become who we are today. As I said in the presentation also, it was a very, very hazy start. I learned, on the job. Whatever was pushed onto me, I tried to take it up as a challenge. In between, I went very dependent on certain team members who are star players, and they suddenly decided to leave the company. So I had to find out other people who can, kind of support my business. So it's constantly evolving, and you have to keep your head down and you have to keep working, keep pushing. I think it's the most difficult job in the entire world, to be an entrepreneur and a single entrepreneur, where you don't have another skill set to kind of support you. I hope I answered your question. I don't want to detail it out further on.
Yes, ma'am. So similarly, the same question I would like to pass on to Soham sir, because we have a lot of students here who have architecture as their background and have entered into design and now going towards UI UX. And So how would you describe your professional journey?
Well, to be truthful, I always wanted to be an urban designer when I was in architecture. So I don't know, something happened. Saurav sir happened actually. So we had a huge chat. I still remember that day. So we had a huge chat, and then he kind of convinced me to go ahead in this direction. And I took industrial design. So even in my masters also, I didn't wanted to pursue UX as a. I was not sure of pursuing UX as a career. But at that point of time, certain things fall into places. I understood that maybe I started reading a little bit about UX. Now, the fun part is there are certain colleges which offers graduation in UX, but UX in itself is a little vast subject, and the only difference with architecture or industrial design and UX is you don't have a proper strict syllabus or a guideline. So in UX also there are multiple smaller domains. I mean, you can, there are a lot of, one of my junior, he really liked the idea of creating speech-based or voice-based UX, and now he is creating chatbots. As simple as that. Okay. So UX, try to think of UX as a larger platform, and then maybe eventually when you go ahead, you can figure out which kind of UX or which kind of smaller domain in UX you want to go ahead with.
Okay, so moving on. So I would like Virat sir to answer this. This is about what are the changes that our industry needs to make for furthering professional development, according to you?
Oh dear, it's a big question to give to me. Well, I'll try my best to answer. Sorry, what was that again? So what are the changes that industry needs to do?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think that's, all of us are the industry. We are not separate from the industry. We are going into the industry, and so the change is going to begin from us. I feel that there's no entity like the industry that's going to change in one way and then it's going to make way for everyone. This is just, even if you see in the past how UX became a profession, it's just because all of a sudden, like I did my undergrad from 2010 till 14, and going through that, it was an industrial design undergrad. And going from that, by the end of 2014, everyone was using smartphones, and suddenly all the things that were supposed to be products are now apps on your phones. All the things that are supposed to be services that you physically obtain are now services that you get from your phone. And so UX has emerged more as a thing that it's a response to the need in the society. And there's more of a, so that's how that has happened. And I feel in order to, if you want to, and going back to the thing that I said in my talk as well, if you want to go to that particular, if you want a particular shift in the industry, if you want the industry to look at you in a certain way, then you have to start it yourself. You have to say that, you know what, I'm a designer, yes, but that doesn't only mean that I can design only the stuff that's outside. I am going to do all this other stuff as well. I'm going to talk about technology through my human-centered point of view. I'm going to talk about business through an ethical point of view. And it's also something that would require you to go ahead in a certain manner and then to also move towards you in a certain manner. And that's when it'll happen. Even over here, when we talk to clients and when we are on projects as well, like there is a project going on, and within that project, it feels like we have to do a ton of design advocacy, saying that, you know what, design needs a place in your project. Design needs a place in this particular project, and we would like it to be in the first 3 months of your year-long project or something like that. So I think advocacy of design is quite important. Like just being like, these are the, and staying strong to the basics of design, human-centeredness, being driven by ethics. I think that's something that would drive it, and that's how the industry would change slowly but surely.
Also, I would like to add one thing, what Viraj just said. So a lot of the time, your client doesn't know what they want. But most of the time, they come to you, can you please create some screens? Like a lot of the times, I think we all have faced this. So a lot of the time, they came up with a user flow, which is designed on an Excel sheet, and they asked you to create screens. So for a lot of the people, they just consider design or UX as creating screens. It is your duty as designers to tell them that, okay, I'll solve your problem, but I think we can do something better, or we can create something which you probably haven't thought of.
I think I would also like to add a point here. I think I agree with both Viraj and Soham, but this is something that has been tinkering in my head also. So I wanted to just bring it out here. And I feel that, clearly what you said, Soham, that, clients come up and they have the user flow in Excel sheet. Personally, I don't have any issues with the user flow being in an Excel sheet. Probably crystallizes everything very clearly. But I do feel that a broader perspective is required, and not only from the client's end, it's also from the designer's end. I feel there's a mental block that there are screens, there are products, there are architecture, these things are very, very far apart in our heads as designers, and we tend to kind of only associate with a certain part of design as a industry. And also, this is one point, these separate things should come together and should look at it as something like, when we talk about design problems, right? And Viraj is also an industrial designer and, architect. So whenever we're designing, the design problem is something like, not like something, design a chair. It's something like design something to sit on. So it creates a broader problem, and then the number of solutions that could be to that particular problem could be anything. It may or may not be a screen, maybe a product, maybe a physical product, maybe just a business, kind of a ecosystem or a system design it could lead to. And that is what is required in today's designers to kind of evolve as not identifying as industrial designer, as UX designer, UI designer, and kind of broadening our horizon and kind of looking at a bigger picture is, I think, what is required. Secondly, I think within the designers community, I see there's a lot of competition that's happening. I feel more getting together, having these kind of conversations, and healthy conversations. And me personally also, I'm conversing with other studios as well. And in fact, we are sharing some projects. We are sharing our projects that we've worked on in the past, and seeing their projects, and actually getting on calls to discuss them and not treating each other as competition. So that, I think, for the new designers, for the young generation which is coming up, I think it will be a good approach, and to kind of just move out of all the bounds that you have.
Okay, so talking so much about technology, this actually is a question for all of you, but I would like Nimisha ma'am to start with this. So how have the advancements in technology altered the working of your respective fields? Nimisha,
Well,
yeah.
I'm back on. I mean, see the technology aspect. Well, see, I've been hearing about technology. I've been hearing about innovations. I've been hearing about the kind of industry which I belong to, or I've been trained into. I know I've been like a horse for a long time. Keeping my my focus on craft, on involving craftsmen, on involving looking at solutions in that zone. In terms of technology or upcoming technology in that area is, right now we are, I think as a country or as industry in crafts, we are looking at a lot of machinery, I would say, which our own amazing counterpart, which is China, are very, very good at. They are good because they have machines and they're pretty good at it. Things like, I mean, it's very detailed. I don't know if anybody would understand that, but I'll still say that, things like I've been to China so many times. I've seen that, the work our counterparts factories do, things like, they are
So I would like the other speakers to also answer that question. So advancement in technologies, if it has altered your working. If not, we can just go start with the Q&A session.
I could take this one actually. So having worked in environments where there's very often not only adoption but also creation of new technologies, what happens is one thing. I mean, keeping aside the whole part where you use technology in order to go on your day-to-day life, whether it's getting to the office or sending documents or doing just the normal office work. There's one whole part which is I think everyone is using across the industry, but like being in an environment where we are working as designers, it's always the two things have made sense to me. One is working right next to technologists, people who actually produce those designs. If you work with them, which is also called agile by many different companies, that's one way of doing it. So you are working with technologists at all times. And I think many of these large corporations are getting better at getting designers to sit closer with technologists and vice versa. And the second thing I would also say is for designers to understand that jargon, for designers to understand the words that they're using, the language they're using. That's super important in order to make sure that you are with technology. The moment you make it a black box, the moment you say that the designers are going to do this and then they're going to give it away to the technologists and engineers to sort it out, that's not the right way to go, because of course designers have to get their hands dirty and work along with the technology and build together, involve them in design process sessions and brainstorming sessions and so on and so forth.
Also, I think I would like to add one point what just Viraj said. So it's not always a linear process. Sometimes it's a cyclical process also. Like sometimes design gives direction to technology to evolve the technology in a certain way, and sometimes it's the other way around. So I mean, it's basically it's hand in hand, you can say. And also, obviously, you can't just be like, I'm only a designer. I can't comment on the technology part. You can't be a successful designer like that. You have to understand the technology. Probably it's okay that you can't grasp it in the single go. Take your time, but obviously you have to understand how things work or how things are made.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the question and answer session. I have a few questions here on WhatsApp. I would like to start with a question that our faculty, one of our faculty member has posted, Shanu ma'am. She's asking about the challenges as a young entrepreneur that in current times. So what are the challenges? Can we discuss about those?
Yeah, surely. I think there are lots of challenges in all aspects. It could be to do with finance. I, for one, have not taken in any funding, and we've grown organically. We've just earned and kind of grown our business on top of that, which I wanted to start off with. So one, of course, is the financial constraints. Second is team members. Your team is the most important aspect in your business, because if you're able to find the right kind of people, they're going to take your business to the next level. On the other hand, if you find some slackers on your team, again, you're headed towards doom. So these two definitely are most important. Later on, these are the ones that I started with. Then I realized that the culture aspect of a company is very, very important. One, bad fish kind of dirties the pool. That kind of a thing happens, and I've seen that very much in the company. So if there's one person who's slacking, everybody tends to slack. There are those kind of issues. Finding new business. So as a small company, and with in today's day and age, there are a lot of freelancers who are kind of posing themselves as a company. They would have friends, and they would form like this little website where they put in their friends as different positions, and these are actually freelancers, and they'll put it up. So there's a lot of doubt also in our clients' minds whether this is actually a company or they're just pretending to be one. Also, finding Again, resources are very, very important. Finding the right kind of resources in the right amount of time is also necessary. Then another thing is the property rights, intellectual property rights. So people in my team have previously, kind of taken some of our company's work and showcased it as their own and added it to their portfolio. Poaching of clients, these are other aspects that we've had to deal with. So yeah, I think to name a few, these are there. And of course, expansion. Expansion is something which we are working on and we are kind of scaling up, but it is a task. It is a task to kind of maintain what projects you're working on and then kind of just immediately kind of scale up, ask your team to kind of push further also so that we can get more projects and so that we can get more people on our team. So it's a constant evolution. You have to keep working on it and keep kind of looking at different aspects of the business that are probably not doing well and keep plucking them out and keep straightening them up.
Okay, so the next question is from Rick. He's here with us on Google Meet. So he has a question for Virat sir. So what do you think is the ultimate future of human-computer interaction? And with the fading line between H and C, do you think it is likely to have a future where these two are not two separate entities? Actually,
Well, I
there's
hope
a
not.
second part to this question. I'll get to that later.
Okay. So I personally think that there is no such thing as an ultimate future. There's no point of time where we're going to go and then it's going to be it. I think there's always going to be betterments and betterments. An example of that from the past is that of the car. So the size and shape of the car, as we defined in the early 20th century, has been more or less the same. And it's only now that we are turning towards electric vehicles as a mainstream thing. And I think that's the same thing that we've kind of reached with phones as well, because since the iPhone came in, I mean, everything else since then has been super iterative. It's just an iteration of the previous one. And there's this whole interesting discussion about whether this is the ultimate form of the phone. And I personally think that, it's also really hard to tell that this will be the future, because apart from how desirable a product is, apart from how feasible the business plan for it is, and apart from viable the business plan is and how technically feasible it is, what is important, I mean, there are other factors. Even if it's completely desirable, even if it's completely feasible and viable as a business plan, it still doesn't guarantee that that product would take off. An example is that of the pager that we had in the 90s, mid-90s. Business viable, looks nice, people would like to have it, but at the same time, it's not. It didn't make it. And I feel that going ahead, it does look like we are going into a future where computers are going to be embedded more into the spaces around us, and we are going to be computerless as such. Even though there are, there are examples of people embedding stuff into their own hands over here, and so Sweden has something like 600 people who have an NFC chip inside of their hand, so they can literally command a bus door with their hand, which is really funny. Yeah, so I would say I personally am more in line with a whole thought of having computers in the space around us, and not so much inside of bodies. I think that's not the direction I would like to go towards.
Okay, so actually, the further question, it was like, if it happens, that means the two entities, they are not separate anymore. If that happens, how relevant would the points that were mentioned by Prashasti ma'am about values that make us distinct as designers would be in the future?
So I think I can take the start of this question. So I feel even right now, as we stand, we are cyborgs. We are all so dependent on our phones that we literally can't do anything without our phones. Our whole existence and the way we live is because of all the technology around us. So we are not far from that, as it were. So the only moment we would be far from it, as it were, would be when we were cavemen, when we did not rely on any technology. So I think that's exactly why, and as Soham sir was also actually saying, going into the future, there are going to be different paradigms for design, whether it's VR, whether it's AR, whether it's something completely different, whether it's, I don't know, holograms that come to reality. But then again, I can't quite, maybe Prashasti ma'am can add to this after me, but I feel that this is exactly why as designers, we need to stick to the values that we have, the values of ethics and sustainability, which would inform our design decisions going in the future.
Okay.
I think I would like to add to
that.
So I think I understand where Raj is coming from. I totally agree to all the pointers. I just want to add that this blur that we're talking about between H and C and kind of elaborating more further on the talk that I had given is all about evolution. We need to evolve with whatever may be the medium. So we as designers have to understand that we are not designing a particular screen or a platform, or it's related to a goal. So whatever might be the goal, to achieve that, whatever means are possible. So if we talk about the HNC getting kind of human and computer getting closer and probably embedded or whatever, but that is a mean, and if it's solving the purpose, I feel it's okay, right? Whatever helps us solve the purpose is the way to go. And I think we as designers need to evolve to kind of accept all of these newer techniques, newer technologies coming in to kind of build for that.
Definitely. So the next question is by Manav. The question is for Soham sir. He's saying, sir, can you please share your experiences, learnings, and even challenges that you faced as a fresher designer in Infosys XD?
Very specific, huh? The XD I joined earlier was a little different. So when I joined, it was a team of, I think, 30 members. Now it's a 2,000 designer strong team. Okay, so there's no comparison. Obviously, there will be people to mentor you, and for at least first 6 months, try to study as much as possible, try to learn as much as possible, and then probably after 6 months, you'll get the heck of it. You'll understand, okay, this part of the job I really like, and then start concentrating on that. It can be as simple. I mean, we as students, or we tend to make decisions that okay, so this is something where the future is going to be, and let's go ahead in that direction. Don't put your judgment based on that. I mean, a classic example of failure is Kodak. So when Kodak came up, Kodak was the first company who invented the digital camera, right? But they haven't marketed it. And now when Nikon and Canon is basically ruling over the market, Kodak is making only LED screens, I think. And they are doing some packaging. It was a Fortune 20 company, Fortune 50 company. Now they almost went bankrupt, and now they are just scraping through their old services, right? So obviously, don't the problem with I think when you go in Infosys, that's also a huge problem you'll face. That everyone is running there. People are always in a hurry to go to the next job or switch to the next job. Don't do that. I mean, try to understand how things are done. Try to work on some project end to end, and then figure out what can be the next possible step for you. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I guess Manu is nodding his head. So moving on, the next question is for Nimisha ma'am. This is from Meghna Khare. Her question is, how will be the future of craft in the coming future? So, like with the emerging technology, the world of craft is fading. Like we are able to make online presence, but the roots are getting weak.
I don't think so. I think I'm. I would suggest please go online. The kind of work we're doing, craft is being celebrated all across the globe. Why? Because it relates back to the handmade nature. It relates back. I'm telling you, craft is definitely the next future. And I'm not against technology. Believe me, I'm all up for technology. I'm all up for. I'm using an iPhone. My son uses an iPad. He's crazy about it. So technology, definitely there is something which we celebrate, but craft is definitely future, and I don't see it dissolving or gaining less importance. Why? Because we still believe as Indians in our roots. We still believe in our people hard work, and the people who work with us, people who I've been working with every day. I mean, I'll just give you a very, very sweet small example. We've been coming to office every day, giving our hours, and only because we are still middle class people. We can still float in the current times, but the workers who cannot float in the current times, they still need their salary. They need to pay the EMI. We were trying to do that for them so that they can get their salaries. If we ship something, we'll get a payment from a buyer, and obviously it'll feed their homes. One morning, I just decided, and I told my team, let's go downstairs, let's clap for them the way our PM did it. But believe me, it really encouraged them, and I'm telling you that they worked. After that, they've been working so hard. I can see the gleam in their eyes. Craft, because the everyday things being made by hand, things being made with love. That's what the motto of our work every day is. If you love what you're doing, if you have passion, we are all hands-on. Literally, we do welding. Literally, we sculpt. My designers, the design team, we sculpt. We use different mediums. So I'm telling you, craft has a beautiful, amazing future ahead. Don't worry about it. It's great as long as you got the vision, as long as you got the zest, as long as you have people to buy beautiful products. Because at the end of the day, you'll have technology, you'll have everything, but you need the feel good factor. Believe me, if I go and buy a lipstick today for myself, I'll feel definitely 100 times much better because I want that factor. So today our lives has become like that. We want to feel good about our lives because so much has been happening for the past 6 months. We just want to feel great. We want to feel like tomorrow is going to be even better. So I hope I've answered that. So,
Can I add something to what you just said? Yeah. So
Sure.
let's say, the art of painting, right? Art of painting is a skill or a craft skill which you learn. Now, some people do it on paper, some people do it on canvas, some people do it on iPad, right? The craft still remains the same. Probably the way it is sold, that will get evolved eventually. Probably people don't, let's say people wouldn't buy paintings as the way it is, but people are buying, like let's say Chumbak for an example, right? What Chumbak is doing, they're selling paintings, to be truthful, okay? And they are doing a great job of it, okay? So they are basically marrying the craft with the technology, and they're making money out of it, as simple as that. So yeah, probably the craft will evolve. Maybe something in a different way craft will be present, but the craft is never going to die anytime soon. That's for sure.
The next question is for Virat sir. So this is from Onik. He says hi, and he says he's been following your work for a long time now, and he would like to ask you how your design process has evolved the time you started at MIT IB, then at RCA, and to now in the industry.
Firstly, that's very kind. Thank you so much. I hope it's worth it following my work. In MIT ID, I was very much wanting to be an industrial designer. When I got done with that, I worked on stuff like printing machines and also ACs and such. So very like hardcore product design. Then the big thing that I felt in my design process that was lacking was a lot of the points that we touched upon over here, that I wanted to be more than just a designer. I wanted to push that and design stuff that goes inside as well and be a quote-unquote inventor. I was lucky enough to get into the master's that I got into, which was also an engineering master's. So it was a double degree. And through there, I sort of got on board with technology and sort of fell more into the electronics and physical computing route than the mechanical engineering route. And so those are the things that I've taken. And in effect, what ended up happening is through all the projects that I've done, I sort of incorporated more of emerging technology and the ethics around it. And those are the things that I sort of came upon. And today in the industry, it feels like lots of decisions are very business-led. And at the college, what happened was I was the one trying to learn about technology with the background of design. And in the industry, in the studio right now, they very much look at me as someone with a master's in design and technology, helping the business out. So that's the little journey of, a very short points journey of what I've been through in the last few years.
The next question is also for you. It is from Shushrut. He's asking that us all speculative designers need to be good with the knowledge of technology.
It helps quite a lot. You don't need to, but if you can, a lot of. So the funny thing about learning speculative design now is that, for example, if you consider all the fiction or the speculation that was coming out in the 1960s, which was the space age, it was stuff like Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, which is all space-based fiction. And if you consider all the important fiction coming out in today's day and age, it's Her, Black Mirror, and the more scary near-future technology-based fiction. So which is why I feel in today's day and age, it's quite important to know about technology in order to be able to comment on it and write speculative design on it.
I guess Nimisha ma'am wanted to add on.
Yeah, actually, I kind of forgot the question. Can you tell me again?
Yeah. So are all speculative designers, do they need to be good with the knowledge of technology?
All right. So now there are two sort of ways, guys. Listen up. So now, when I started up, I had no idea. I didn't know Corel Draw. I had no Photoshop knowledge. I had nothing, because when you're in college, you don't get time to actually spend so much on technology or computer skills or anything. You just get that a brief introduction and then you're off. So I think again this again goes back to experience. Again goes back to I have experience in the sense that if you get something, if you want to start up, by starting a job, but your ultimate aim is you want to do a startup business, and that's what you want to do. But that experience, that knowledge that you're going to get from a job, being hands-on person, and throughout my time, believe me, that's how I learned and that's how I gauged technology. I had no clue. When I went to China, I was blessed enough to go to China, was blessed enough to go to Italy, I was blessed enough to go to where my company sent me, and to learn and be knowledgeable about that. It's definitely a perk in your skill level. Definitely helps you, definitely broadens up your mind, opens up your head. I am still not good in 3D. My design team, one of a person is, I got him a 3D software because he's good at it. So also I encourage, also encouragement, not just yourself, to others, to be sound in such upcoming things, because it is important, it is future, but it's not 100% necessary. I think it's more about what do you want for yourself, what works best for you, and how do you want to increase your skill level. So I would suggest that don't be shy, don't give up. I think that's the idea. I mean, so I just wanted to add that I also started off very less, very slow, but I built up on my skill set. I built up on a lot of skill set now, because I'm a design head. I was just hired as a design associate, nothing else. So I was not doing anything in my office for next 2 years, but slowly, steadily, I built up my skills. I built up my skills of sculpting, sketching, drawing, a lot of things in terms of computer skills as well, Excel sheets, everything. So it's all about timing. It's all about experience. It's all about giving yourself that right time.
Sorry, yeah. So as we can all see, it's already 6. So I guess I'm sorry that we couldn't take all the questions due to the time constraint. But there's a last question, or actually a last request from all of you. Do you have any advice for all of us who are on the verge of stepping into the professional world?
Just go ahead, jump, start working. I think things will fall into places. Don't worry so much. Don't be so scared of taking risk. I think that is the best advice anyone can give to you. I mean, obviously, you guys can add on to that.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well. Just jump into it and do what you like to do and be driven by, again, like things that matter to you the most. And as designers, we are lucky enough to bring 100% of ourselves into our jobs. So I would recommend you to do that and just get all the things that you're passionate about into your work.
I think I would like to add, of course, we have to kind of plunge in and try things out for ourselves. Definitely, that has to be done. But what I've seen is that many designers from NID, from IIT, from Srishti School of Design, I'm interacting with all of them. I have some of them on my team. And what I see is that somewhere, at some level, there's a roadblock, there's a mind block. Oh, I'm from such a good school, or I'm from such a good college, I know more than the designers at my level. So I'm not going to take that extra step and try to learn more and try to stretch limits. And I feel that is something that I would like to tell you guys. The learning process is not over at all. It is something which you have to continuously keep working on, continuously keep evaluating yourself, how you performed during this week or this month, where was the scope for improvement. That's only when you'll grow exponentially. If you just stop ki haan, abhi mera education is finished, this was my graduation, now it's done, now I just need to start working and enjoy my life, I think that's where you're headed towards doom. If you keep improving, that's when you'll succeed and you'll have so many different offers. I don't think you need to worry about any jobs, and you just keep working and everything will just fall in place.
So I'll add on to a lot of things that everyone said, and they really make sense. They really talk about what's it as the present. I'm going to end up on an example. As I said, that a lot of people from my batch, which is quite old, 2005, we're pretty old people. Amazingly, my classmates, they're into doing cooking. They're into being different fields, like being the amazing florist from New Delhi. She is one of the biggest bloggers from cooking. So she just took a different path. So I think be open-minded. And whenever I interview people for a job in our industry, rather than taking them, I actually giving them advice, because a lot of people come back and say, I had a great intern, I had a great boss, she's great. I said, then why are you even applying for Michael Ram? Do you even know who Michael Ram is? What the brand say? No. I said, but you've already enjoyed. Why don't you take up the job? No, I want to learn something more. I want to experience. I said, this is the time. If you're getting a great job, if you're getting a good decent pay, if you're getting a good boss who doesn't bother you, who really likes your work, stick on to it for some time, and then move on, no problem. But at least get that bit of experience. So guys, don't worry. I mean, there will be worries happening all over the place, but I think just listen to your heart. Risks are fine, but in the current scenario, I would personally suggest that please, if you do get decent offers, amazing offers, good enough offers, just take it for the experience sake, for the sake of learning, and not a problem. And I think just be open, just be honest, and I think you guys will do great. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, all the speakers. So today has been great, but it's not the end of DX 2020. We still have one day to go. So hope you all have visited our website, our exhibition website, that is www.spadx.in. I would request all of you to switch on your cameras so that we can have a group picture.
Okay, you gotta hold on.
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old who is jumping around. Just hold on. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so
And
much.
hope to see you tomorrow as
Thank
well
you for having us.
for the last day of DX 2020.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All the very best.
All right, all the very
All
best.
the
All
best.
right, guys.
you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
All the best, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.